Hi, it's Nick again, making my second video. Last video I talked about schizophrenia and the different symptoms that go along with it, and I also touched on my own symptoms that I deal with. This video I want to talk a bit more about myself and my individual symptoms that I suffer from and how it's affect my daily life. What I first want to talk about is when people get diagnosed with schizophrenia, like if you've just been diagnosed with schizophrenia or you know somebody that's just been diagnosed with schizophrenia, it's a very big, deal to a certain degree. It kind of feels like a death sentence almost, like a farewell to having a normal life. But it's not. It's just a minor disability, and you learn to cope with it, you learn to deal with it, and you learn to push past it in a certain extent. I haven't mastered that yet, but I'm working on it, so it was scary for me when I first got diagnosed with schizophrenia. I wasn't sure exactly everything that it entailed. I was familiar with schizophrenia to a certain degree because I was always afraid that I had schizophrenia, because I always had this kind of disconnect, and I always had these really morbid thoughts and everything, and I was always pretty weird. Many people can attest to that. So it was, I did my research, and I looked up, my personality, and, it fit with schizophrenia to a certain degree, but it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was strong enough to actually say that I had schizophrenia. It wasn't until I was 24 that it really started feeling different. It got out of hand. When I say it got out of hand, I was always dark and I was always morbid. I always had these morbid thoughts of, I would be walking down a hall and all suddenly it would flash and there would be blood and guts everywhere, and then I would be back and it was all normal. But those were my thoughts. I was thinking they were in my control. About 3 years ago, it started getting out of my control. It started spinning or spiraling out of control. And for me, it got kind of scary, because I started having these violent thoughts about people, any person. It wasn't personal, it wasn't discriminatory, it was just anybody. And these thoughts would invade my mind like I had no control over them. Like somebody else was putting those thoughts into my head, and I was forced to watch them. I kind of kept trying to push it off and say that it was no big deal. And I thought that I just needed a change of scenery because I was in kind of a stressful environment at that time. So I moved from Louisiana up to here, Boise, Idaho. And it got better. I didn't have as much stress to deal with, so that was a relief. Though I did have to move in with my girlfriend's parents. And when you move in with your girlfriend's parents, you kind of have to be on, like, your best, behavior all the time while you're there. And that got a bit taxing, and that put more strain on me. So, I kept having the symptoms, but I was trying to hold them in, and it caused me a lot of anguish and anxiety. And so we eventually moved out and got our own place, me and my girlfriend, and it got worse, because I wasn't trying to hold any of that stuff in. It just started flowing out of me. The flashes became more severe, more frequent. I started having thoughts of self-harm, like carving up my face or my arms, and suicidal thoughts, and I just felt disconnected to everything. There were certain days where I could care less about my girlfriend. I thought about breaking up with her. I thought about leaving her because I just didn't care about her. And there were other days where I felt so strongly for her. And it was just this back and forth, and my emotions were all over the place, that it started really feeling like I was out of control and I needed help. So I sought it. And, I go to therapy now, and I'm on medications. I'm on an antipsychotic, an antidepressant, and Adderall. I'll go into the reason I'm on the Adderall a little bit more later. But they've helped. They've helped rein in my emotions. I feel like I'm actually in control now. The flashes don't happen, almost none at all, and it's just gotten a lot better. Not to say that it's that like I'm cured, but it's better, and I still have a lot of times where my symptoms crop up, especially in times where I'm feeling stressed or distraught for different reasons, when I have these external influences pressing down on me, and it gets a little overwhelming, my symptoms crop up. So that's always fun. My symptoms are a disconnection with reality, a lot of times, where I just look around and nothing seems real, and since nothing seems real, my inhibitions kind of go out the window, and I just do whatever, because, there's no consequence, because it's not actually real. And this is really horrible thinking. It's got me in trouble a few times. Just have to quickly backstep and say, oh, I just sound schizo. I have delusions. I have delusions of persecution. I believe everybody secretly hates me, and everybody talks bad about me behind my back, which could be true, regrettably. But it's probably just, a symptom of the schizophrenia. Though it still could be true. And I have delusions of grandeur. Most of my life, I've always thought I was better than everybody else, that I was more important, that I just held myself to this higher standard, that I didn't feel like I was human. I felt like I was something better. And, I thought I was just a pretentious asshole for most of my life. It was kind of a relief to find out that I had schizophrenia. That was one of the symptoms that kind of made things okay. Because I could never explain why I felt that way. I also believe that sometimes I have secret powers, like telekinesis, like the ability to move things with your mind. And I just sometimes get these urges, like, I need to work on my telekinesis. And that's always a weird thought to have. I mean, if you ever have that thought, it might be a good time to seek help, because that's not normal. And unless you actually have telekinesis, then, go for it. More power to you. And so there's also, I have the negative symptoms where I'm very flat or emotionless to a lot of different responses. I don't get overexcited about a lot of things. I don't become enthusiastic about a lot of things. So when it does happen, it's kind of weird, and my girlfriend doesn't know what to do with me. I don't know how to properly respond sometimes, especially when my symptoms are getting the better of me. I don't know how to respond to people. And I think it's because of that one and the disconnection that sometimes I've had to miss work. It gets a little hard at times and a little out of hand. But, I manage, and I think I do a pretty good job at it. My girlfriend might disagree. But, what she know? But one of the big things that's really been a help is actually her and, my friends being very supportive of these symptoms. And, that's key. Like, if you've been diagnosed with schizophrenia, don't push people away. You need those people. You need those connections. and that support system. So you need people there to help look after you. Not to say that you're completely debilitated and, you need adult supervision all the time. Though my girlfriend probably wouldn't attest to that. It's good to have, and it's helped me tremendously, knowing that she's there and my friends are there to help me through it. And if you know somebody that's been diagnosed with schizophrenia, try to be there for them. I don't have the hallucinations or the voices, which makes me feel like I'm missing out on like a great part of schizophrenia, because I've done drugs and hallucinations are like one of the best parts. And though I'm pretty sure, I would get flack for saying that, you don't know what it's like. And I don't know what it's like. And that's one of the misconceptions about schizophrenia, and that was one of the misconceptions that I had personally, that I thought you needed to have the hallucinations, and you needed to hear the voices in order to have schizophrenia. And, since I never had that, I was like, well, I probably don't have schizophrenia then. And turns out I did. It's not a requirement. So it should be a requirement. It helps tell, the schizos apart from the normal people. Now I can just blend in. You wouldn't even know I was there. Having a lot of, outlets is good too, that, aren't detrimental. Don't self-medicate with drugs and alcohol. I don't do drugs. Though I'd like to. And I don't really drink. That would probably help. I think it would just cause more problems than anything. It's good that I don't do those, because I would probably do them to an excess. But having different outlets is good. For me, I play video games. Video games is an outlet for me. And I write. And I just recently started doing these video posts. Just different outlets for me to vent and kind of get out all my anxieties. It's helped. It's, having these outlets. Though video games is kind of a weird choice. Because, there are all these little tiny alternate realities, and it's just like, here, Schizo, have another reality to play with, and another one, and another one. But I enjoy it. I love, playing around these different playgrounds, connecting, losing myself in these different realities. And, that's one of the joys of having schizophrenia. Like, you think that's a weird thing to say, but it's kind of a joy to some extent to have schizophrenia. I mean, one thing, you're different, you're different than most people. You're an individual, and, then you have this completely unique outlook on life. You get to see the world in a whole new way that normal people just don't get to see. And it's exciting, it's thrilling, it's fun. For me, sometimes when I'm going to sleep, my symptoms creep up because it's a lot of alone time where I'm just sitting there thinking, and my symptoms creep up, and I start losing connection with reality, and I just drift, and it's glorious, it's fun, it's amazing to just drift out of reality and lose yourself. And that's just an experience that, normal people can't have without drugs. And so, I mean, try to look at the positives of it, and, that's what I try to do. And it doesn't mean an end to normal life. I lead a pretty normal life. I go to work, I go to school, I live my life, and it's great. I enjoy my life. I enjoy my life immensely, and I just have this thing now that follows along with me, and is a part of me. But that's another key point. It's a part of me. It isn't me. I am not my diagnosis. It's just a part of me. And it's a part that I'm learning to live with and deal with. And so far it's been a heck of a ride. And that's it. That's what you got to look forward to, you know, knowing that it's going to get better, knowing that it's going to be okay, knowing that there are going to be instances where it gets out of control, but that's okay because, you know, it's not your fault. And just try to enjoy the ride. I mean, I do. Which, I mean, like, you probably won't hear schizophrenic people really say, but I don't know, maybe you will. Maybe we're all secretly enjoying the ride, going, woo, reality is crazy. So, that's it, that's me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like it if you liked it. You can leave me questions or comments, and I'll try to respond to them as best as I can. And just stay healthy.